Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, March 14th, 2025, the day of the week that we turn our production time back a little bit earlier. I guess it's 9 p.m. UK time today. So on that note, let's go ahead and welcome in our audience and see who the heck we have out there before we go ahead and get going with this show. Let's see who can see me. Bring up the list. All right. Let's welcome in Blown Land Cruiser. We've got Bradley and Captain K. Chris is out there along with Craig Smith. I see Dan Larev and Daryl is here. Good to see you, my friend. Eliza Teal's out in the chat along with Fear Addicted. We've got Firefly and Frank Cathell. John Smith is in the chat along with Caitlin, good to see you. And our dear friend Kelly Brote with those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. We've got Max Metal, Mr. The Vibrato is out there, along with Ms. Custow. We got Neil Morgan. Good to see you, my friend. Necessary Dialogue and our resident Pitbull, literally, Niles Guy. Good to see you, my friend, all the way from the Midwest. Oh, we've got Plywood Pigeon, Randy Robert Johns out there, along with Roni Deal. Sam just said hello. And we've got Scooby Dooby Gooby, Steve Mateo. The Wasteland 86 is in the chat, along with our dear friend who's in the back, Yellow Tommy Tanker. How about that? Let me go ahead and jump into the studio. Mike, how the hell are you?
I'm doing well today, Thomas. We're going to have another interesting show today and cover a lot of topics that I think the audience will be interested in. So I think it's going to be another fun show tonight.
Oh, yeah. It's always great getting together on Saturday, having an evening show for our friends across the pond to go ahead and catch us live.
Exactly. And there's certainly a lot to talk about that includes them as well.
Yeah. And as everybody should know, this is pretty much a recap of all the events that have happened earlier in the week. And there's been a bunch of stuff, but I still got some new videos for us to check out, Mike, that we haven't hit yet.
Yeah. The videos are always good, and we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, in this first clip we're going to get to, we've got on the Jesse Michaels podcast that featured Dr. Eric Davis and Dr. Weinstein about this. They asked Eric Davis about how many UFO crashes have been recovered since the 1930s. This is interesting to say the least. Let's go ahead and see where he's going to go ahead and take this. Here we go, folks. Let's bring it up. Get this a little bit larger, I think. All right, here we go, folks. Let's go ahead and play this clip and see where it takes us. Here we go.
So you have Roswell in 47. You have Magenta before that in Italy, but then this craft crashes there, and that gets transferred to U.S. possession. Mm-hmm. And then how many other crashes between the 30s and today?
I can't give you the official number because I know that number on a classified basis. I could say it's less than 40.
Okay, less than 40. I think Hal Puthoff said on the Joe Rogan Experience somewhere like we have between 10 and 15 crafts in our possession.
He said 15. I think he said more than 10, but that's still
more than 10. Yeah. Okay, got it.
More than 10. I'll just say less than 40.
Would you describe the majority as wreckage or intact?
Mix.
An even mix. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not all of them involve recovery of NHI bodies.
Dr. Davis, what gives you confidence that we haven't made progress with any of this material?
I can't speak of my confidence level after my senior VP source died, because before then, I'm highly confident because he was still connected in. He was still on active duty work up until he got retired in the early 2010s. Then he's retired after that, so he's sharing with me the information that he had all the way up until he retired. And so I'm highly confident at 100% level that what he told me is right. And as a matter of fact, he arranged for me to meet one of his coworkers on the crash retrieval program back in the 70s and 80s.
Did you meet them?
Oh, yeah, it was a woman. I met her. My source, his wife, took me to her home, picked her up. We went into San Jose to have dinner at a German restaurant.
How many of those people, crash retrieval program people, have you met total?
Okay, so I think it's 5 total.
So you have.
So there we go, Mike. We've got he said, less than 40, which is probably a good hedge on the total number that we're actually seeing out there. But it gives us an idea that it's clearly more than one. It's more than 10, less than 40, probably somewhere in the middle then.
Well, look, we already know Hal Puthoff said it was between 10 and 15. If that was accurate, then I would imagine Eric Davis would say less than 20. But he didn't. He said less than 40. I think there's a reason why he said that.
And he actually went and clarified what Puthoff had said. Puthoff had said more than 10. He worked for Puthoff at one time, didn't he?
Yes, they worked together at OSAT.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they know damn well what they were dealing with and what was going on. Let me point out that the people who were working on the legacy UAP program for the government, they were all engineers, because Dr. Weinstein asked Dr. Davis if any physicists were involved with this, and he said no, only engineers. So those people from the legacy program that Dr. Davis had spoke with are specifically engineers, not physicists, which is a whole other conversation that Dr. Davis and Dr. Weinstein were having that I found fascinating. You and I have talked about that privately.
Yeah.
So a lot of good information there that gives us an inside peek as to how things operate and what the government has been hiding from the public for so long.
Yeah, they've been busy for some while, haven't they?
8 decades and counting so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, hopefully eventually we'll get the truth. But, the thing is, until we get that presidential order, no matter what people go ahead and report out there, this little clip is from Space and Technology Today over on X. The New York Post reports Donald Trump could release UFO videos and photos of non-human craft that may prove we're not alone. The thing is, Mike, we know that's going to be there, but the truth of the matter is we're not going to be able to see or really get to know anything until the president goes ahead and delivers an
executive order.
An executive order, exactly.
To declassify all of this, yeah.
It's going to be
correct.
A problem unless that gets hit.
Well, it's going to be non-official if all he does is put up a post on social media. He needs to issue the executive order for it to be acted upon in an official capacity.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So we're waiting for that, yeah.
Oh, with bated breath, my friend. It's one of those things we want to get the truth. Now, I do have some clips here from Nick Pope. The first one I have, this is coming from the Jay's podcast, Mike. What is it again? Galactic Family Podcast. Yeah, the Galactic. Yeah, my Adderall's not doing what it used to do. Damn it. Let's get to it. This is coming to us from the Galactic Family Podcast, if I can get my machine to go ahead and work with me on here. So this is where we have Nick Pope talking about political reasons that they're holding back UFO information for in the UK. So that's UK political reasons, which is, we've heard a lot of reasons potentially in the United States. Let's hear what Nick has to say in this short clip. We've got like 4 or 5 clips of Nick here we want to get through. So let's get up here and let me get this just set up a little bit, and let's go ahead and turn off the chat so we can hear and see Nick. All right, let's go ahead and play it. Here we go, folks.
We were in a very difficult political situation. Our policy was to routinely play down the extent of our interest in this, not only with the UFO community and the media, but also with Parliament, even so with our own people. So we wanted to give no publicity whatsoever to anything that we were doing that might fall into the category of international cooperation.
Yeah. Interesting to hear Nick Pope in these late days. Our hearts go out with him, but it just shows that, Mike, we were talking last night about the possibility of having an international cooperation on UFOs, right? But in this particular scenario, that would just mean all the different countries with all the different ways they look at everything, that we would never get anywhere.
Right. That's exactly right. So, look, there are people out there for and against Nick Pope and the work that he's done. But I got to tell you, regardless of what side of the fence you happen to be on, he has been a voice out there on this subject for a very long time.
Yeah.
So everybody should enjoy it while they can, because he won't be around forever.
I can see why he wanted to get out of the limelight, my friend, unfortunately. He's struggling there a little bit.
If you're counting down your last days on this earth, you want to spend that time with the people closest to you and enjoy it instead of being out there on podcasts and interviews. I get it.
This may be one of the last interviews that he'll be on. Let's get on to the next one. We've Nick talking about the UK Ministry of Defense sent two people from the UK to the Five Eyes Working Group on UAP. Although UK denies it, Nick is calling out and said, yes, they did go. So let's play this next clip from Nick. Let me get this a little higher up so everyone can see it and get myself out of the way so I'm not blocking him. All right, here we go. Let's enjoy it.
It was a matter of record that what was it, May 2023, something like that, the Five Eyes Working Group meeting was held. And I did subsequently find out, somewhat naughtily, through making a Freedom of Information Act request, which I don't like to do because, I see that as a sort of like gamekeeper turned poacher situation. But I couldn't resist on this because there was a lot of confusion. And I did actually, and I think I put it out there and published it. If not, I can send it privately to anyone here who wants it. Just shoot me an email. The response from the Ministry of Defense formally confirming that they sent two officers from Defense Intelligence, which was formerly known as the Defense Intelligence Staff, part of the Ministry of Defense that deals with military intelligence. Two officers were sent to that meeting. No information about what specific area they were from, though I have a fairly strong suspicion they might be from the Defense Intelligence Capability Acquisition, I think, area. There's a bit of a crossover between those folks and the sorts of folks that look at UAS and such like. But that was about it. And I'm not sure much has happened since that inaugural meeting. Tim, please correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Well, I'm not actually free to comment about what we did with the UK government, but I think it would be fair to say that we did compare notes and results. And the means to transfer classified data using like NATO protocols and Five Eyes protocols were greatly enhanced. So especially when it came to ISR data, we were able to share a lot of that.
Yeah, interesting conversation there. We even got some insights from Tim Phillips, the former interim head of ARO, Mike. I'm surprised. He's playing along nicely.
He's usually very tight-lipped. You're right.
Yeah.
But listen, our own DIA, if you remember back in the day, was involved with OSAP. So we know the UK's version of the DIA is involved in this subject as well. How could they not be?
Of course they are.
Right.
What they do and what they're a part of and what they actually tell us are two completely different things.
Of course. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, this next clip we've got here, Nick responds to questions from Gene Sticco about the peaceful use of space. Is it possible? Let's go ahead and see what Nick has to say on this one. Here we go, folks.
What is it? The Commission on the Peaceful Use of Space. I mean, there's a framework that is sitting there that could absorb it or could start it, but it's, ultimately that question of whether there's enough motivation to do it.
Yeah, I touched on this in my Skeptic article, and the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, and Dr. Mccasland Othman was heading up that office at the time, and she actually attended one of the two Royal Society discussion meetings held in 2010. One was called let me think. One was called the detection, well, it's in the article that I just posted in the chat. One was called the detection of extraterrestrial life and the consequences for science and society. And the second was called Towards a Societal Agenda on Extraterrestrial Life. And Dr. Mccasland Othman said, essentially, don't come to us with a problem. In the UN, come to us with a solution. So, and this was in relation to things like the SETI Declaration of Principles, which I understand are being rewritten at present. But I just tried to put a few resources up in the chat box. But the UN weren't keen on it. They just saw it as another contentious issue, which was going to embroil them in some difficulties. And with that in mind, if you don't mind, I'm going to have to sign off now. But I feel free to follow up with me offline on any of those things I posted. And sorry I couldn't stay for a little longer, but I hope that was useful. Very nice to connect with you all. And please go on to have what I'm sure what will continue to be a very fruitful discussion. All the best.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah. Interesting conversation with Nick. Nice to see him sign off and know when it's his time to go ahead and get back and get some rest. I'm sure he needs it there, Mike.
It's amazing that with the time that he has left, that he would be gracious enough to spend it with all of us. I think that was very magnanimous of him, and it has to be appreciated.
That's why I'm sharing it. Folks, I'll get a link up here. Let me see if I can find this really quick. Let me just do a quick search for the Galactic Family podcast. If you are enjoying the... if you want to call it, if you're enjoying the interview that's been going on, Jay, who's someone in our back chat on a regular basis, is not here with us right now. He was with us last night, but if you're up for, if you could help, sir, support his show. Actually, this can't be him. Wait, I'm in the wrong place. I'm on X. Oh my goodness, making mistakes here. Galactic Family podcast. I got it. All right. He only has one. Oh, he's gone up in subscribers, Mike. He's up to 1.27 subs. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do us a favor. Give Jay a subscription. We'd appreciate it. He'd appreciate it. He's just an up and coming small channel out there right now, and he's a great guy and tries to cover this the best he can. Now, the next video we have is of Nick Pope from earlier in the evening during the podcast, where he goes and talks about how radar was lost on VHS tapes. I'm thinking he's probably talking about UFO radar, Mike.
Yes, he has to be.
Let's go ahead and bring this over, make it a little bit more easier to see. All right, here we go, folks.
I'd like to make one other point, two related points, really circling back to something Tim started with about data. The first is showing my age. I remember when I was doing this at the UK Ministry of Defence in the 90s, data meant radar data literally downloaded onto VHS video cassettes. And we had banks of them, as did the various air defense bases. And they would have, generally speaking, as I recall it, they would have two screens, identical output. An operator would be looking at the first screen and the camera would be filming over the second one. And then that recording would be downloaded onto a VHS video cassette. It would be kept for a month. And then at the end of the month, because nobody wanted hundreds and thousands of tapes, they would take the oldest one, pull it out, stick it in the machine, and re-record over it. So if nobody had figured in a month that there was a question, oh, wait a minute, what about the night of February 13th? We had this thing. Can we check to see if there are any uncorrelated targets? If you didn't do it in a month, it was gone.
Holy cow, Mike. So yeah, I guess 2 screens, one with a video camera set up to record the other screen's radar. Right. Ingenious ways to do it, but wow, it just shows how far we've gone since those days.
Oh, that was back in the Stone Age, the 90s, for computing. We've come a long way since then, but yeah, that's how they used to do it. I'm surprised they were able to accomplish anything like that.
Yeah. Andy, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a remark to what Nick was saying there. Yeah, imagine how much information has been not deliberately discarded, but just recorded over. It's like the bad time when you have a family movie that you've recorded to video. You put the thing in to record a TV program and record over it. It's that kind of level. We may well have lost an awful lot of very important information just because it was scrubbed over. Not for getting rid of the information, but just for like Nick said, they didn't want tens of thousands of VHS videos sat on a shelf doing nothing.
Yeah,
they reutilize these things. So yeah.
There's been a lot of documentation that's been made on old television programs and, more importantly, commercials and live television back in the day, going back from the first day VCRs came around up until near their demise. There is so much information that was recorded that people like Brian Rommel have been using that technology or those tapes and everything to go ahead and actually train AI systems today. So, whether it was for, if you want to call it radar back, being able to record radar back in the day, or today being able to leverage this information as, training knowledge of how processes worked, from training videos to just, TV infomercials.
Well, yeah, I'll just say, how we're hearing in the UK, how people have recorded old TV programs that they thought they'd lost that episode for it being discarded here in the UK by when the BBC were actually producing decent TV comedies and things. We've lost the main reels, and then somebody comes up from an ordinary household. We recorded some of these, and they find a lost episode.
That's right, my friend.
There may well be still information that is pertinent to us in this subject that's knocking around that nobody is sat in a film can or something that nobody's ever looked at. So there is a chance there's still stuff out there.
Yeah, well, probably it's just a matter of finding it and bringing the data in a place where we can all work from it and actually move forward with the topic instead of just being stalled. If we could, Mike, in this next piece, we've been talking a lot about former General Neil Mccasland, who went missing.
Yes, we have.
We've got a clip here where we've got Eric Burleson talking about it, that Grush was actually reaching out to him. So, he may have been not this UFO guy, as his wife had said, interestingly, and in the statement from her. Apparently, if Grush is actually reaching out and working and communicating with the guy, it's got to mean he's in there. He's in there somewhere in the program.
We know he was, from what came out with the emails on WikiLeaks, between him and John Podesta, working for the Clinton administration as the chief of staff at that time. So there's no disputing that Neil Mccasland was involved in this subject. He was in charge of the Air Force Research Library over in Ohio, right in Patterson Air Force Base. So he knew some stuff. There's no way around that. his wife could make jokes all she wants. It's not going to change the facts as they recorded in history.
No, it's not, is it?
Let's see. No, it isn't. So let's see what he has to say.
All right, turn the chat back on. Here we go. Let's go ahead and play this one and see where it takes us, folks. Here we go.
Well, General Mccasland definitely is connected to the UAP topic, and I know that he is someone that we have been wanting to try to talk to. I know Grush has attempted to communicate with him, and he's been actually. I'm surprised that anything is happening, or that has something that has happened to him, given the fact that he has been pretty difficult to communicate on. Every time that anybody's reached out to him, he said that he has nothing to say on the topic. So maybe I don't know, but he certainly, we believe that he has a lot to say about this topic.
Just seems like a pants on fire moment for a guy like him, whether there's UFO involvement or not. For him to just vanish, possibly abducted by foreign interests or others, that's a huge moment. Now, the story's kind of picking up steam in mainstream media finally, but geez, it seems like it should be front and center.
Yeah, it should be front and center, Mike. I mean, come on, we've got someone out there who is, has some of the highest security in the nation, gone missing. Along with that knowledge of information, even some of it may not be current, a lot of it is still probably highly classified. And unfortunately, if you look at the timeline, Mike, hasn't he been missing now for 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Yes, sir. And let's say this was a natural occurrence where he had wandered off and had some sort of a health issue. They would have found the body within the first 24 to 48 hours. And if not by then, at least by the third day, 72 hours later. There's no sign of him moving about, no sign of a body. There's nothing. So more than likely, now that we're 2 weeks in, if they haven't found any sign of him by now, they probably never will.
Yeah.
Realistically.
It's a sad, it's a sad situation, because if someone like that was taken by a foreign adversary, they've gotten him out of the country. They've got him to wherever he needs to be. And unfortunately, it's not going to be a nice end to him because of potentially what they may end up doing to him to try and get the information out of him that they wanted in the first place. It's either that scenario, or he's been saying something and doing things he shouldn't have, and it's been a message sent to the whistleblowing community out there, say something, and you'll be disappeared.
But he really hasn't. General Mccasland has really been sticking to his guns and not really putting anything that would be considered sensitive or classified out publicly, unlike David Grush, who has definitely come very close to that line and possibly sticking a toe over it. Neil Mccasland never had any behavior like that publicly that we're aware of. So I don't think it would be a threat to whistleblowers. I don't think the government is directly involved in this. This could hit a lot closer to home and potentially end up being a tragedy. We'll have to see how it turns out.
Yeah, it's a sad situation, to say the least, no matter how we look at it.
Right.
All right, let me go ahead and get back into the studio here so I can bring up our next story here. Let's see where we're going to go and cover next. Yeah, but this has got a bunch of things to... All right, all bookmarks. All right, weighing in on the topic, yes, even news stations like CNN are covering the information about Neil Mccasland. Let's see where their take is on this as well. This came out earlier this morning, I believe. Let's go ahead and play this clip, and we'll comment on it a bit more, because I know there's been people asking in the chat, what's the update on the general? So let's see
what they have, and we'll go from there.
Exactly. Now, if I can find it, here we go. Let's play this clip. Here we go, folks.
We're following a new mystery tonight around the disappearance, and a bizarre one at that, of a retired U.S. Air Force Major General. His name is William Mccasland, 68 years old, lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's now been missing for 2 weeks to the day. And there's been a lot of misinformation about this story online, in part because Mccasland used to work at Wright Air Force Base, which used to investigate UFOs. He also did some consulting for a group that promoted UFO research. His wife says that has nothing to do with it, saying, quote, "This connection is not a reason for someone to abduct Neil. Neil does not have any special knowledge about the ET bodies and debris from the Roswell crash." The FBI is now involved in trying to find him. And here's what we know. The sheriff says they believe Mccasland likely left his home at some point in the 11 a.m. hour on February 27th. He left his phone, glasses, and wearable devices behind. But his handgun, a revolver, was missing from the home, along with his wallet and hiking boots. Joining me now, CNN law enforcement contributor and retired FBI special agent, Steve Moore. Steve, what a strange story. I mean, the wife says he doesn't have dementia. It's out of character for him to be away so long. Where do investigators even begin with this?
I think right now what this is going to be is a search rather than any kind of criminal investigation. There's no indication here that I've seen that there is any kind of criminal activity involved in this. And while the wife is very tongue-in-cheek, in a very tongue-in-cheek way, kind of poo-pooing any ideas that there was either UFO involvement or dementia or any issue like that, they haven't been very forthcoming in the medical condition that they say could be involved.
The phone is still at the house along with the glasses, but his wallet and his gun are apparently missing. I mean, what does the FBI do with that information?
It's just an additional piece of evidence that goes on. They'll probably go to profilers and say, would somebody leave the house that way? And if they did, what would be their state of mind likely? It is strange that he wouldn't bring a phone, but would bring a gun. And he is not an elderly person, really. He may be of age, but he's not elderly. And had there been any kind of kidnapping, any kind of struggle, it would have left evidence of that.
How does the fact that he has significant military experience, does that factor into the investigation at all?
I think, Laura, where that factors in is that the FBI is coming aboard to help on this. There's I think there's a belief that he has served the country, and he may have information, classified information, regardless of where it's from. They just want to ensure that there is no possibility that there's criminal activity in here. And the FBI the FBI has a lot of technology that would help find a person.
This home where he's left is next to the mountains, with a lot of hiking trails. I wonder to what extent that makes it harder for the FBI to truly figure out even where to begin the search.
Yeah, it's immensely difficult. The only place you're going to find some kind of footprints in the area are going to be very close to the house. And if you can't pick up a scent or a trail from there, you don't even know which direction to go. And yes, you're absolutely right. The mountains create immense complications on this.
Well, Mike, as we've been talking about this, we know, and it says up on the screen just a second ago, that, the search is expanding to 700 plus homes in the area. They've got drones deployed with infrared, looking for heat signatures potentially at the nighttime. Also, K9 units have been deployed, but they haven't been able to find any kind of
a scent, footprints, a trail, no trail.
Yeah.
They found no trail. They have no idea what direction that he went in or where to look. They basically hit a dead end. What I find is odd is the fact that they said that they haven't been able to get any medical information on the good general, and his wife hasn't been forthcoming with that. Well, if you're the FBI, you don't need the wife to be forthcoming. You can look up his medical records through the VA. You could look up his medical records through his insurance. You could see what providers he's been seeing and if any medical treatment that he may have been undergoing. So that's not as big of a mystery for the Federal Bureau of Investigation as they're claiming it is. I find that odd. And interestingly enough, on a personal note, the fact that that FBI agent said that he believed the wife was being very tongue-in-cheek probably is the same red flag that you and I have been talking about with Jean about her attitude during all of this that's been going on. It doesn't line up. Doesn't make a lot of sense, not even to the FBI.
Well, anytime you have someone who goes missing, like the general did, right? You usually get a statement to come out. on video or something of someone from the family, the spouse, whatever, like we saw with the Nancy Guthrie case that was going on. But not so much in this one. It's just there's been one statement, nothing else but silence.
Yeah, she's been cracking jokes publicly and not really too concerned about the whereabouts of her husband.
Yeah.
Or putting out pleas for help from the public. Please, if you've seen this man, let us know. We're desperately looking for him.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
Now, Daryl, you had your hand up for a second?
No, yes, I did. I was just going to add to what I had talked about yesterday, the 54-minute medical appointment from door.
No, bring it up again. A lot of the people who watched last night's show probably aren't watching today's.
So the part of the, what is it, the BES, whatever they are, sheriff's department there, they released the timeline. The first thing I think that happened that morning was, and apparently nothing about it has been talked about since, I think a repairman or something came to the door. But at 11:10, the repairman came like at 10:30 or 9:30 or something like that. Anyway, the wife sees him, leaves at 11:10 a.m. And it says in the sheriff's report that she left for a medical appointment, which is really interesting that they define the type of appointment. But anyway, left for a medical appointment and returned 54 minutes later at 12:04. So it's just really quick. To me, it's being in healthcare. I just look at that and I don't know, man. I don't believe it.
Well, also, let's inform the audience, Daryl. You looked up the closest potential medical office that she could have arrived at in that time frame, which was 4 miles away, and it was a dermatologist's office. We don't know for certain if that was the actual office that she went to or claims to have gone to either. That's also speculation.
Yeah.
So if she could have, any of this doesn't really line up and make a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Right.
I'd also think that they would have gotten like the ring. I mean, if they've got it down to 54 minutes, you would think, I mean, they had to have gone to everybody on that street and gotten the Ring doorbell video. We're talking about OSI is involved in this, the FBI immediately. They have to know whether or not there was a car that pulled up or anywhere around there that he could have gotten into and driven off with somebody.
Right, but from what I understand is that they went through any and all available video footage. They didn't find any trace of him. Nothing. Nothing on the doorbell cameras, nothing on the local house surveillance cameras. No sign of him directly going any direction anywhere. That's another mystery to this puzzle that doesn't make a lot of sense. Nobody saw anything.
If you had any video at all on the street that he lives on during that time frame or a few minutes before or after, the FBI, somebody's got to be running the plates of everybody that's gone down that street to try and trace down any sort of lead, right?
They're also going to corroborate her statement that she was at a medical office. That's going to be going towards alibi, which would be the first thing that they would look at. They're going to know where she went, who she saw, what the time was, and how long it took, not just going by what she's saying. They have to be able to corroborate that. And so far, if they weren't able to corroborate it, they would be looking into this as a crime, which as of right now, officially, they are not.
Here's my armchair quarterback theory. She got in the car with him and they drove off somewhere and somebody didn't come back.
Right. Now, he could have gotten in the trunk. He could have gotten in the back seat and laid down so they wouldn't see him through the windows. So it could have been something that she has been doing with him.
And if the car was in the garage, and if the car was in the garage, no one would see him getting into the vehicle.
No, there would be no sign of that. That would also explain why there's no scent, no footprints, nothing leading from the house with him in it.
Right, but there was a piece of his clothing, though, that they did find behind the house.
That hasn't been corroborated that it was actually his clothing. They said they found a piece of clothing, period.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife would be able to corroborate if it was his or not, but we haven't gotten word back if it was. So at this point, it's just a piece of clothing they found on a trail somewhere.
I'd also say the stuff that they right here, the stuff that they mentioned was in the house and taken from the house. I can read between the lines. It's saying a guy took his gun with his hiking boots, went out the door, and obviously wasn't planning on coming back because he didn't need his phone or his glasses, and he shot himself somewhere. That's pretty much what this sounds like to me. I mean, just reading behind there. Now, I know, Mike, you were talking about the dogs and everything. It's probably not possible that he was even shot anywhere near there or shot at all. But but the way that this even this information is like sus to me. I mean, I don't, it's just like you can see the picture being painted, and I don't know. This whole thing seems very, very awkward. And you add her statements about him and how it was so well laid out, and this whole thing just sounds very, very suspect to me.
Well, let's take a look at it from a profiling perspective for a second. The victim was what frame of mind at the time he had departed the home? Well, like you said, the evidence kind of speaks for itself. He left his trackable devices at home. That's one. Two, he brought his wallet and he brought a handgun.
Yeah, but
so that
Mike,
tells me he's in a threat situation.
But leaving his glasses behind, I think that's the missing clue, because you know what it's like if you don't have your glasses. You can't read shit. You can't interact with things that are close to you, which means even if you left your phone and your wearables behind, you would never leave your glasses behind, because then you're going to be blind. And that could be the clue saying I'm leaving in distress for whatever reason because he left his glasses behind. Unless maybe he does have two pairs of glasses, but
these guys have to be way further down the trail on this than they are letting on. I cannot believe our best minds looking for a guy in the United States, no less, that has super secrets in his brain. I just cannot believe that this guy has slipped away from everybody.
No, not in today's day and age. It doesn't make sense. But using the investigative powers that they haven't been able to, at least publicly, find any trail or trace of him in any direction, anywhere. Which, again, is another piece of this puzzle. It's a very deep, dark rabbit hole we're going down. But we're running down the facts as we know them. And I could tell you, it sounds to me like, from his perspective, he was facing some sort of a threat scenario. That's why he brought the handgun, for protection. Now, if you know you're going to be involved in some sort of a threat situation, you don't necessarily need a pair of reading glasses for that. He'd be able to deal with it without those reading glasses. They're not necessary. So whatever's going on, he obviously was involved in something that he believed potentially could have been a threat.
True.
But if he was murdered, let's say he was shot with that gun. It goes back to what I said from day one. They would have found that body within 2 or 3 days regardless. They haven't.
Or if he got hit by a mountain lion or something else, or slipped and fell off a ridge or something, they'd find him.
They would, because he had the gun on him. So if he was facing a wild animal, he would have shot that animal, and there would have been blood trails everywhere.
Right.
They would have found it. They found nothing. So that didn't happen, based on the facts as we know them.
Now,
it didn't happen.
Bringing additional facts to the table that is hitting the news, the news stream out there, just not in this particular article or a video from CNN. Let me go ahead and just bring up this Twitter account, Mike.
Andy's had his hand up, by the way.
Andy, go ahead, my friend, first.
Yeah, I want to play a bit of devil's advocate on here. Now, we've been discussing this in after show both last weekend and last night. We had the benefit of Gene and his experience with us last night. Playing devil's advocate, was this chap actually, has he gone back into the system? He may well have been out of it for a long time. But he's obviously a very, very intelligent guy. He's potentially worked on some interesting stuff. Was he I believe that what Gene said, and Gene, when he's on next, can correct me if I'm wrong, but he said, it's that sort of specific set of skills that he may well have. Was he required to go back in for a reason. He's not disappeared as in deceased and had nefarious things. He was basically picked up by a taxi of some sort and taken somewhere.
Right.
To continue his work. We're talking in the thing, that this guy's deceased. He may well not be. He may be perfectly safe, and his wife may be quite happy and knows exactly where he's gone, but can't say. We need to remember she was, I believe, a full bird colonel. She was very high in your military, working on the same sort of things that he was working on. So she's fully aware of the situation of what's happened to him. We're talking as though, and we don't have mountain lions here in the UK, but I would have expected if he'd been got by one of these, there would be clothing, there would be potential bodily remains. The gun would still, they'd find the gun. I don't know that it's actually a nefarious reason he's disappeared. And I believe he went missing the day before the Iran shenanigans started.
Right.
Was
Andy,
he brought back in for something like that?
Yeah. Andy, this kind of aligns with what we've been hearing from the remote viewing community who's, got psychic abilities and been digging into this, that he went willingly. He's been reactivated for whatever his skills are. They've picked him. He went willingly. They picked him up. They got him out of there, and he's off doing what he potentially needs to do to deal with a national security issue that apparently the public does not need to know about.
So let me play devil's advocate here for a moment, Andy. If what you're saying is true, then I could tell you that the Mccaslands have not been out publicly. Meaning nobody is watching them 24/7. So if in fact her husband was reactivated by the federal government, he didn't need to call the police and file a missing persons report. She could have said nothing, knowing full well what's going on, and nobody would have been the wiser. The fact that she did not do that and did make a report, and now it's all over the national news, the OSI, the FBI, everybody's involved in this, the local sheriff's department. No, it's not him being reactivated back into government service. That would have been something, if it actually had happened, we wouldn't be knowing anything about this. Nothing.
And it's something his wife may not even know about, though, Mike.
Would not have called a missing persons report. They've been married 40 plus some odd years. They were both in the military together. She's got a PhD, highly educated. There's no way. And listen, you and I are married. We know there is no fucking way you're going to disappear indefinitely and not tell your wife what's going on, especially if it is government service. Of course he would have. There's no way that he wouldn't have.
One more data point. It's kind of in your face, but I'm curious for many married people in here. If they're married, why is her last name Wilkerson? Why is it?
She uses both last names.
It's hyphenated.
It's hyphenated.
Mccasland Wilkerson. I guess I've never seen. Usually it would be the opposite. I would think you put the Mccasland at the end if you're married to the Mccasland.
No, you're right, Darryl. You do. So that's odd. Only she can answer that question. And I don't think.
I wonder if she was a Susan Go type. Is what I'm really kind of curious about.
She was involved, from what I understand, in the technical aspects of computer systems for the government. So she's not in intelligence or psychology like Susan Goff. I don't think it's that. But like we've been discussing both privately and publicly here on the show, her general demeanor on this doesn't really make a lot of sense. So why would she involve the authorities and now the public if her husband disappeared? Why would she do that if he was working for the government? She wouldn't, is the answer. So then why did she do it? Well, the only other thing that could happen is at one point, if they don't find him, they will have to declare him legally dead. And once that happens, she can then file a claim for life insurance. That would be the only thing that I could come up with as far as why she would get the public aware of this in the first place.
And I just want to comment on Louise in the chat said, it's the 21st century. People don't always take their husband's last names. Well, Okay, but these people aren't from the 21st century. They're 72 and 78 years old.
68.
72 and 78. Oh,
No,
68.
he's 60.
Right, yeah. My apologies. 72 and 68. So she's 4 years older than him. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Not that that means anything.
No.
And she's probably smarter than him. So that's another issue that I would look at pretty heavily. It's well, look,
Mike, if you're married, if you're married, she's always the smartest one.
Right. You're right. Her, she'll tell you that. Yeah. But listen, what we don't know is what was the actual relationship between him and her in their home lives behind closed doors. Was it peaceful? Because I could tell you that people that have been together in a marriage as long as those two have been is either because they love each other unconditionally or they hate each other, one or the other. And we don't know what their relationship was like because we don't have access to get that information. But the people looking into this do. So they would know if there was, trouble behind the scenes, which could also be used as some sort of motivation or the reason why, the motive for him disappearing. There's more to this than meets the eye.
I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but I just can't get this out of my mind. Like, what was the guy's name who was making the drugs? It was the high school teacher.
Breaking Bad. Walter White.
I can't get this out of my head. Like they're digging holes in the desert, right? I mean, they're living out like in the desert. I mean, where can you drive for 54 minutes round trip, go to your pre-made hole in the desert, drop off your husband, and then come back home? I don't know, man. She seems to be like the biggest sticking point in this whole thought process.
Well, let's say she has a boyfriend. Let's say she has an accomplice that may have assisted her with this if she was trying to get rid of him. There could be more to this than we currently have data points on. That could be a direct result of whatever it is that hasn't come out publicly yet. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. And I could tell you that they keep pointing out it is not a criminal case. So the reason that they would make a statement like that is they corroborated her alibi with the medical office and confirmed it. So that wouldn't lead to them suspecting her as being a potential perpetrator in this.
That's good.
Not yet. If and when they do, they are going to dig very deeply into every aspect of her life as we know it and look to see where it leads.
Yeah.
So there was no car service that came because they would have known that. They said that there was no sign of anything other than her leaving and him disappearing, period.
I was just going to say, Eric Goff in the Gurus, I believe is the name, was suggesting a poll.
Yeah, good idea, Daryl. We could do that.
Oh, that was Eric Goff in the Gurus.
So, all right, what is the poll, my friend?
I don't know what the poll would be, but I think a lot of people probably have some opinions about this. What would it be? The wife did it or something else?
Well, I've got other information I was just about to bring up with a dead drop.
Let's get into the information and then we'll come up with the poll.
All right, let me go ahead and do that. Shut that down. I was just starting to do it. All right, and the next dead drop we've got coming up, believe it or not, this is coming to us, came out just, I believe, yesterday, Mike. We started covering this. I brought it to both yours, Gene's, and Gene's attention and called it the dead drop. There's a verified X account called TMB Spaceships that has 1,645 posts on plasma-based propulsion, Mike, that went silent minutes within the time frame of when General Mccasland vanished. The account has 1988 hand-drawn schematic claims, a sighting from the cockpit of a KC-135 at 15,000 feet. It's not 150,000 feet. Maybe it was. The author defines ionized helium by sight and references lab experiments by name. He's got hand-drawn illustrations up on the account, and a majority of the live streamers and different people out there who cover stuff on X and on YouTube and stuff, Mike, they're all blocked.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Right.
So.
Right, for whatever reason.
Right. So, is it a coincidence? Possibly. But to have that account that's been regular posting on a basis all of a sudden stop at the same time that this guy vanishes, it's just a little too much coincidental.
It is. It's odd because I think the last official post on that account was at 10:27 a.m., February 27th.
Yeah.
And then he disappeared around 11:10 a.m.
Yeah.
So that is odd.
Yeah.
But
I've never interacted with this guy. I've never seen him anywhere. I have no idea who he is. Yet I'm blocked.
Has there been any activity on that account since the disappearance?
No, the last one that he had posted was generates small local field with a high voltage gap, geometrically placed, allows sustained dwell time in the gap. That's his last post.
7 a.m., right?
10:28 a.m., February 27th, 2026.
Right. But since then, has there been any additional blocking from that account to anybody else?
There was one person I saw reported on it today saying, hey, this account has blocked me in the last 2 days.
Well, that means there's activity on that account.
Correct.
That's what that means. So somebody could, if it was Mccasland's account at one point, and now somebody has access to it, like the wife, then that would be activity to show that, it's not necessarily his account. But it's odd, very, very odd about how that account had been running, very similar to Mccasland's time with the government, because in the profile of the account, it states that he was doing similar things for the government in the same time frame that General Mccasland was. That's why people feel there's some sort of a connection to it. But you and I know who the author of that theory was, so we have our doubts about it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people are all looking at it, and it's just sad to see when someone who I have some coverage here from ABC News. Let's go ahead and play this next clip of them talking about the situation as well. Everyone has a slightly different take on it, so let me bring this one up and we can watch it and comment on it.
Yeah.
Actually, not that one. This is the clip I want, not this general search. Hold on a second there.
Major General.
All right, let's go ahead and bring up this video clip here. I'll get it a little bit more centered so people can see a little bit better, make it a little bit smaller so it works with our... just take it. Here we go, folks.
So former Major General William Mccasland held some of the most sensitive positions in the Air Force, and authorities say 2 weeks ago he left his New Mexico home and he hasn't been seen since. What we're told by police is that his wife returned from a short appointment. She came home and found he was gone, but his phone, his prescription glasses, his wearable devices were all left behind, though his wallet, his hiking boots, and a revolver were all missing. Now search teams have been pouring over the trails where he often hikes, trying to locate him. Major General Mccasland at one point commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory. He oversaw cutting-edge technology, and actually after he retired in 2013, he worked briefly as an unpaid consultant for a group that was researching UFOs. Now, we should note on social...
Now, that would have been to the Stars Academy, right, Mike? I believe
yes,
so.
Thomas, that would have been to the Stars Academy.
And that's where he would have worked with Lou Elizondo, and Hal Putoff was there, as well as Christopher Mellon and others.
Right. Steve Justice from Lockheed Skunk Works was there. Yeah, you're right.
There's a good poll suggestion in the chat.
What is it, Daryl? I can't go back and see it.
Yeah, hold on. Where'd it go?
Whole wife did it. She's clandestine. Is that it?
Yep, wife did it. He is clandestine with government, or went alien peacefully, or went with alien peacefully.
All right, let's go ahead and do this really quick. Start a poll.
You could always, if you can put 4 in, put something like animal attack.
Yeah, but it's usually better if we have less.
Less is more.
The wife is suspect. What is the other one, Daryl?
Went back basically to work covertly with the government.
Or got abducted by UFOs.
Oh yeah, or went peacefully with aliens.
There we go. 3 options.
All right.
Oh, this would be a good one.
All right.
I'm just going to say my vote goes with the wife at this point.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and see how what kind of votes we get on this. Hey, Google, set a timer for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay, 1 minute and 30 seconds. Starting now.
Okay, audience, before we get our next story on this up next coming from Fox News, let's go ahead and see where you're going to go on this polls. All right, we already have 43, with 35 votes in. Let me increase the size of this so we can go ahead and see it a little bit better. 46% of our audience is saying the wife is suspect. 34% saying he's been recalled to the government. And 18% of our audience is saying he went with aliens. It really seems that the people don't like the wife today.
Yeah, but there's a lot of reasons for that.
I was just saying, I would really like to have said went with aliens, because it'd be funny, in retrospect, if we look back in 10 years and UFOs are everywhere and aliens are everywhere, that when the wife put out that statement that she was actually telling the truth. More likely went with the aliens.
Come on, it's right by Sandia Labs, and they had their dirty hands in UFO reverse engineering.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think he went with aliens.
All right. With 70 votes in, it doesn't look like it's close. Recall the government is at 36%. Wife is suspect is at 44%, but we've got 12 seconds left to go. So no matter what, it looks like the wife did it, unfortunately.
Well, Michael Sekuloff has his hand up, and he's been married 3 times. So why don't we see what he has to say about this?
Yep. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so he wouldn't need a gun if he went with the aliens, and he wouldn't need a gun if he went with the government. So that leaves the wife.
Or suicide.
Well, or suicide, yeah. Well, there's a few other scenarios as well. But what is interesting, I think, is that in the past year, there have been 3 physicists that have been, 2 physicists that were murdered, and of course, William that's disappeared. And I wonder if there's some kind of connection between Dr. Nova Lorio, Dr. Carl Gilmore, or and General William Mccasland.
There's only we had this one thing that you could put it into like a search in this thing called artificial intelligence someday. We'll get there someday.
Yeah, well, I did search it, and and those 3 had one thing in common, and that was that they all were high-profile scientists that worked for the government, that were into nuclear fusion and research for what is it? I forget. I can't read it. I can't see it. Anyhow, so they did have one thing in common, and they're all 2 of them murdered. 1 is disappeared. I wonder if there's a connection there, because they all.
Well, you're bringing up a scenario like it was in the Third Body Problem, where you had all these prominent physicists who are getting eliminated.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder if this is part of what's going on. It's like they all have different. 2 of them have a similar scenario, and 1 has disappeared. We haven't proven anything yet, but if it turns out that he was murdered, that's 3 murders in a short space of time. And is it a purge of some kind?
Good point. Good point, my friend. Let's go ahead and get to this next story that came to us earlier, I believe, yesterday from Fox News. Let's see what's being said over on the other side of the aisle from CNN. Here we go.
Are asking for the public's help in locating a retired Air Force Major General who has been associated with the UFO community. William Mccasland has been missing for 2 weeks now. Senior correspondent Claudia Cowan has details tonight. Good evening, Claudia.
Good evening to you, Brett. This mysterious disappearance is drawing attention because of where this top military scientist once worked. Authorities say 68-year-old William Neil Mccasland was last seen at his home in Albuquerque on February 27th. They believe the retired Air Force general left his house on foot and then vanished. He left his phone and prescription glasses at his house, but his wallet and a .38 caliber revolver are said to be missing. A statement from the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office says he's an avid hiker, and while there's no sign of foul play, they say it's, quote, unlike Neil to be out of touch from his family and friends for this length of time. And they've issued a silver alert, which in New Mexico applies to missing people over 50 who may have cognitive or medical issues that could put them in danger. Before retiring in 2013, Mccasland commanded the research lab at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, one of the military's most advanced research hubs. The base has long been the subject of speculation and conspiracy theories, claiming debris from the alleged Roswell UFO crash was stored there. But investigators say there's no evidence Mccasland's disappearance has anything to do with his work there. And trying to put online rumors to rest, his wife Susan posted on Facebook saying even if there was a connection, quote, with absolutely no sign of him, maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens beamed him up to the mothership. However, no sightings of a mothership hovering above the Sandia Mountains have been reported. Multiple agencies are combing the area where Mccasland was last seen. The FBI has also joined the search for this decorated Air Force general who simply walked out his front door there in Albuquerque 2 weeks ago and never came back. Brett?
We'll follow it. Claudia, thank you.
You know, Mike, more information without getting close to what the potential answer and the resolution of this could be. The other thing that's going on is just the countdown timer that's gone on again. He's been gone for
2 weeks.
2 weeks, way too long. And any time, you know, it's generally after looking at something after 72 hours that people are gone, there's not a lot of hope for them to be coming back.
No, because they would find a body. They would find the direction that he went in. There would be video footage. There'd be witnesses. The fact that in 2 weeks they have absolutely nothing is suspicious in itself. It means he has disappeared for all intents and purposes, which nowadays, unless you're doing that on purpose, it's not a naturally occurring thing. It's just odd that he could be completely off the face of the earth as we know it without any signs of where he may have gone to or who is involved or anything like that. Very suspicious.
Yeah, it is, isn't it, Mike?
Well, it's not a kidnapping. He wasn't abducted. There's no ransom that's being demanded. There's no threats to any of this. So, again, all of these data points lead us to something that is unusual, to say the least.
Yeah.
No way around it.
Unfortunately so, my friend. All right, so I do have an audio clip here. I can't play the video just to be careful on this one. This is an audio clip of David Grush talking about the whistleblowers, the 40 whistleblowers, the witnesses firsthand, and them being concerned about, wet work murders, the people going missing in their workplace who were involved with parts of the program for potential no reason. So let's listen to what David Grush has to say in this clip. Here we go, folks.
Of the 40 people we did interview, I'd say about 10 to 12 of them had concerns about wet work murders in the past. People going missing in their workplace. I certainly had some disturbing things happen to me in my personal life from a physical intimidation perspective, which I reported to my agency's counterintelligence element when I was still in government. Obviously, I was never physically harmed, but I certainly saw signatures of what I thought was illicit extragovernmental activity as it related to intimidating me and some of my other colleagues. Just was very, very disturbing and upsetting information. So I don't have any personal knowledge of that kind of stuff, but I did talk to firsthand witnesses who had very high credentials, that were government officials, that did espouse that concern of illicit wet work and other physical intimidation type activities. So
what happened to me personally was very disturbing. So I have to be very vague about this because ongoing investigation, but I think you'll understand what I'm saying, is they showed my wife and I they can touch me at any time, 2 times. And it was very disturbing. It was in conjunction with some other people getting a message like that are, let's say, publicly well known, some that aren't publicly well known.
I was told that there were 2 names on a list of people that I was looking through and I was warned to not reach out to those individuals because they have the capabilities and would have no problem having someone like me killed, which I found startling. But I've heard that in the narrative of this topic. This isn't the first time I've heard about that and the dangers of this. But it was the first time that I got. I would say that's probably the closest to that I've come.
So, Mike, a lot of people saying, there is a possibility of people being eliminated for what their involvement in the past, and it just seems like it's still potentially on the menu, at least from these guys' concerns.
Well, listen, they have been looking to intimidate people who are coming forward to speak, but I have to say, this goes back to points that you and I have made on the show for a very long time now publicly. And that is that these so-called whistleblowers that are speaking out publicly about things that the government doesn't necessarily want the public to know, that is a misconception. Because the reality of it is that these people with security clearances and NDAs, they have to get authorization from the government itself before they can actually speak about any of these things. And we know each and every one of them, including David Grush, did exactly that. So they only spoke to the public about what the government allowed them to speak about to the public. So why would they then be intimidated? It doesn't make a lot of sense logically, but unless they were afraid that even though these whistleblowers, these witnesses, spoke within the lines that the government had set forth for them, they were trying to impress upon some of these people to maybe not go beyond those lines and say things that necessarily the government didn't want them to say. So on one hand, these witnesses are nothing more than spokespeople for some sort of a controlled disclosure coming from the government to the public.
Right, but you got to remember, Mike, sometimes, we're talking about individuals who will be out there going ahead and talking about things potentially, in public, but behind the scenes, they actually break protocol and to think, okay, I'm talking on another platform, it's just a phone call, it's just a text message, whatever it is, there's opportunities for people who, to be completely monitored. And if they're talking about stuff that they shouldn't be, they may get, have to pay the price.
Well, those private conversations that you're talking about are usually utilizing methods that are not monitored. And you and I are personally aware of some of those conversations, and we know they do take place, but not publicly. And not anything that would require intimidation on that scale.
Well, don't forget, they can potentially have bugs at his location like they did with Grush in his place. So they may not hear both sides of the conversation, but they could be, even though if he's on a secure system that he's talking with, what he's saying could be relatively easily observed by an intelligence agency.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Daryl, go ahead.
This question. Burleson, who was he worried about getting killed by?
He didn't.
Somebody made some threats against him. He didn't say.
No, well, he wasn't given a threat. He was given a warning from some people that he knew that if he mentioned these 2 people's names, there was a chance that they would kill him. This wasn't a warning from saying, if you say these names, we're going to frickin' take you out. This was someone who we knew he was talking to the information about, and he was given that warning about 2 names on a list of people he wanted to talk about.
And what was the title of the list?
I don't remember.
I don't think I caught.
That's never been disclosed.
No, just anyway, what list is he talking about? I mean, I'd like to know, is he talking about Bill Gates is going to murder you if you say something? I mean, who's on this fucking list?
Yeah.
Probably, if I had to guess, I would say the intelligence community. And we already know that the CIA and Congress have interacted with each other. Even Tim Burchett had made statements like this in the past that we covered. He said he was told by people he knew not to say certain things and not to discuss things publicly. So that's been going on for some time. It's nothing new, Daryl.
Got you.
It's how they control things.
I mean, I'm sure you know, Mike, that you probably have known people that will do a deed for you. You've heard of it. You've heard of other people. I mean, there are people out there that would, do things if you paid them to do things. What was my point? Somebody was just calling me, and I've lost my train of thought. But
they could do things not just for payment, Daryl. They could do it out of loyalty or patriotism or the cause, whatever it may be. So yeah, no, that people do act if they are put in a direction to act. But these members of Congress have been talked to. Look, we broke the story back in 2023 that Congress was being influenced by members of the intelligence community. After Grush had publicly testified, it was Mike fucking Turner from Ohio that wanted to make sure with James Comer, of all people, both the head of the intelligence community and the head of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, and said that we don't want this to happen again. Never again. We don't want the public to hear any type of testimony along these lines because it would give the Department of Defense a bad reputation. And then there was a push to disrupt and make sure that follow-up UAP hearings would not occur or play out the way that the one in 2023 did. And we know that because we covered that story as well. The subsequent UAP hearings out of Congress were the rug was pulled out from one of them. They put in different witnesses at the very last fucking minute. Nancy Mace did that. We covered that story. Jeremy Corbell spoke publicly about it months after it had happened and cursed her out for doing that. They have been, the intelligence community, interfering with Congress and guiding what actually comes out publicly. Like the example would be most of the people in the UAP caucus in the House would say they are publicly advocates for disclosure, like Susan Gillibrand, Nancy Mace, Anna Paulina Luna, Eric Dawson. But we found out that behind the fucking scenes, these people are not truly advocates for disclosure as they publicly claim to be, and they pull the rug out from actual disclosure occurring during any of these hearings. So that's something they expose. That's something we still cover. And we know we're not going to get the truth out of Congress at this point because of their behavior. And that's the reality of it, like it or not. We're not happy about that, but we've just report on what's actually going on behind the scenes.
By the way, I just fed this into AI, into Grok, and it said the two people on the list names are somebody by the name of William Jefferson Clinton, and the other one is Hillary Clinton. So there you go.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. But I could tell you that Eric Davis talked about on the Jesse Michaels interview that there was a 4-star general working directly under President Clinton at the time that had full access to the legacy UAP program being run by the government. And he said that in the interview, plain as day. So we know that the Clinton administration had some knowledge of this at one point. They had to. And then, of course, we know that when Hillary was running for president, she was dealing with John Podesta, the former head for President Clinton. And she said that they would move disclosure forward to the public if she was elected. So we know the Clintons had some knowledge of this. And that's probably why AI came up with their names, both of them.
Well, and a big murder list. A big Clinton murder list. So.
that's involving illegal money and real estate and what was going on with them back in their home state. So that's
and
not
I'm not
related
taking
to
a side.
disclosure.
I'm not taking a side. I just know that people have been, they've been associated with people's deaths, and so just.
Oh, they have been, and I'm not taking sides either. And I agree with that, but I don't think it's connected to disclosure in any way. That's my only point.
I just think it would be funny if Burleson is reading the list and he gets to the people that might kill him are Bill and Hillary. I don't know. It may happen.
I don't think so. I think they're worried about the Epstein list more than anything else at this point, the claims. Right.
The program.
So go ahead, Thomas. You have another clip to play?
No, well, not on this particular topic. I've got other stuff we can jump into.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Turning back the clocks of time. You guys should remember this one. We've got a video clip here of DNI Ratcliffe at the time. Yes, he used to be the head of the Director of National Intelligence, but he is currently the head of the CIA, talking about UFOs, what evidence we have, why we didn't bring it out during the last Trump administration. Yet, you know, Mike, this guy is, out of all the different people that are out in the Trump administration talking about UFOs, he hasn't said one thing since he's taken over the CIA, has he?
No, not a peep. And the problem with that being, we know the CIA has their hand in this since Roswell.
Right.
They know exactly what's been going on. They were the ones that prevented Bob Bigelow from getting the materials from Roswell that Lockheed has been working on for 80 fucking years.
Exactly. So let's jump to this retro clip here, and we'll talk about it when we come back and move on. Here we go.
Actually is a program that's been in place for a few years in terms of a task force that has been there under the National Defense Authorization Act. But as you correctly point out, Maria, there's now a report that will be issued by the Pentagon, by the Secretary of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence. I actually wanted to get this information out and declassified before I left office, but we weren't able to get it down into an unclassified format that we could talk about quickly enough. But frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public. Some of those have been declassified. When we talk about sightings, we're talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or have been picked up by satellite imagery that, frankly, engage in...
Really quick here, Mike. This is the first time that we have a representative of the federal government going ahead and saying, yeah, we've got images of these UFOs coming from satellite imagery. That's a big one. Let's continue on.
That's a big confirmation. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Which is completely different from the days we've got when, you know, good old Susan Goff watching us again. Yep, that's how it goes, Mike. She's always out there, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and continue. Here we go.
Frankly, engage in actions that are difficult to explain, that movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. So, in short, things that we are observing that are difficult to explain, and so there's actually quite a few of those, and I think that information is being gathered and will be put out in a way that the American people can see. We always, when we see these things, Maria, we always look for a plausible explanation. Weather can cause disturbances, visual disturbances. Sometimes we wonder whether or not our adversaries have technologies that are a little bit further down the road than we thought or that we realized. But there are instances where we don't have good explanations for some of the things that we've seen. And, when that information becomes declassified, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, she is flabbergasted, my friends. You can see the expression in her face as she's watching and listening to what Ratcliffe has to say. Let's play the rest of this.
About that.
Can you tell us where it was seen?
Actually, all over the world. There have been sightings all over the world. And when we talk about sightings, the other thing I will tell you is it's not just a pilot or just a satellite or some intelligence collection. Usually we have multiple sensors that are picking up these things. And so, again, some of this are just they're unexplained phenomenon. And there's actually quite a few more than have been made public. So I think it'll be healthy for as much of this information information to get out there as possible, so that the American people can see. Actually,
you know, Mike, I have to look back at this and say this was the golden age of disclosure that was going on back in the day, where we had the director of national intelligence talking so openly about it. Where we went from here is shortly after we had the UAPTF hearing, there was rumors and speculation going out there that the Air Force and the DOD was trying to put the genie back in the bottle, and we're like, no fucking way are they going to do it. And sure as hell what they did, Mike, is they put the genie back in the bottle, didn't they?
They did, and that started with Sean Kirkpatrick going out there and no one pushing back against the bullshit that he was seeing publicly. So that's what led to the genie going back in the bottle.
Don't forget, though, we had Gary Reed, who was part of the DOD, part of the Secretary of Defense office, and part of the Undersecretary for Defense office for Intelligence and Security. He was really, if you want to call it, the architect of what Susan Goff was doing, what RO turned into and everything. And unfortunately, there are other people that have taken his place that have been ratcheting up what they started back at that time to turn RO into a complete disinformation agency. And all they did was deny.
Is a program that's been in place for.
Here we go. It's just a sad situation, unfortunately, as it's been unfolding. Uh-oh. We're back. I've been having an issue going on with my internet connection. Every so often, just out of nowhere, it just vanishes for a couple seconds, and then it pops back. Your thoughts on this, Mike?
Either it's the NSA interfering
well, not
with
that.
our broadcast.
On Ratcliffe. And the DOD shutting everything down and putting the genie back in the bottle that we thought was impossible.
After the testimony we got from David Grush in 2023, we thought it was absolutely impossible at that point.
Wow.
But obviously we were wrong because they did put the genie back in the bottle. But now that we have this new administration and these people who are supposed to be pro-disclosure, like Ratcliffe, why is it that it's gotten very quiet again? Why are we not getting information, especially out of somebody running the CIA? That's where a lot of
especially wasn't it the organization called the Office of Global Access, and they were potentially in charge of the UFO crash retrieval program, at least one of 5?
Yes. That was the Office of Global Access out of the CIA's Science and Technology Division.
Right.
That's still active as of today and has a new leader since 2015. So that's still active, ongoing, and going on. So why isn't the head of the CIA discussing this right now? Why haven't we gotten information out about it? Oh, I know. Because the president hasn't issued an executive order yet.
Right.
That could have something to do with it as well.
And if you look at, since we got that presidential equivalent to a tweet saying we want to disclassify this, if we look at all the letters that were being sent off by Representative Luna and Burchett and Burleson, one of the offices that was missing that they didn't send the demand to was the CIA, which makes no sense, considering what Burleson and Burchett and Luna already know about the CIA's involvement in this.
Right, but if you don't have an executive order from the president himself in place, and you submit a request to the CIA, their answer is going to be very direct. We know nothing about this. We have no answers for you. Because they don't have to. There's nothing forcing them to. But in the president's cabinet right now, if he issued that executive order and has somebody in his cabinet that is pro-disclosure running the agency, that information should definitely be forthcoming at this point. At least I would think.
It should be.
But we're not there. Yeah, it should be, but it hasn't happened yet, and we're not there.
No. Unfortunately not, my friend. Well, turning our page of time a little bit more currently, we've got a clip here of Representative Eric Burleson said that he was briefed that a new government UFO investigation organization is being headed up that supersedes ARO at the DOD. So we talked briefly about this last night. I've got the clip for us to go ahead and listen to now. Let's get into this. This was from last week, Saturday, a week ago, in on a Reddit space where they went and had an interview with Leslie Keene, the infamous reporter from the New York Times, and James Fox. So let's listen in on this 2.5-minute clip from Eric Burleson. Here we go, folks.
Now, I was in a briefing last week that I'm going to be very cautious about talking about, but what in that briefing I learned, A, that they're dedicating more resources to an overarching team that's above ARO, if you will, but working with ARO. So you have multiple agencies that are investigating this topic, which I think is good. I really do. I think that we don't want to rely solely on, and the other agencies have not publicly stated that they're investigating this, so I'm not going to say which ones. You can probably assume. Pick your 3-letter acronym and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But as far as I think it's a good thing that you've got multiple agencies, and I know some people have said, well, you should just eliminate ARO altogether. I disagree with that. I think the more the merrier. I think the more that more people trying to investigate this topic from different perspectives with different talents and different resources, I think that's a very good thing.
Oh, no. He said ARO, the more people we have looking at it, Mike. But if you're dealing with an agency like ARO, and their position has been to diffuse, deny, and deflect any kind of information that could talk about anything that is a UFO or a UAP for that matter, why would we want to let them continue if their MO has been literally to prevent the truth from coming out?
The answer to that, very simply put, is you wouldn't. ARO is not going to be divulging any information on this. Neither is the CIA. We know that already. That's been established. So there'd be no reason to look to them for any answers. Didn't they have an annual report and a historical report that they were mandated by law to release to the public? Whatever happened with that?
Their historical report, I believe, is the second installment of it, is a 1.5 years overdue. And I think we're about 6 months overdue presently in their yearly report as well. So Susan Goff has been asked about this numerous times from different people in communications with her. And all she comes back and says is, we have nothing to report at this time.
Which is in direct violation of the law, is it not?
Yes, a federal law was passed. It's called the National Disclosure Authorization Act that requires the agency to report information to Congress on a quarterly basis and to go ahead and give us, the public, a yearly report. That's
right. So we already know that ARO is not only not going to provide information, they're in direct violation of a mandated law. What does that tell you about their motivations? Nothing good.
Well, they're operating in a way, Mike, where they're saying the law does not apply to us, but yet the law was put in place to get their funding to make sure that they're going to do the job they're supposed to do as is dictated by Congress. But if Congress, especially Kiki Gillibrand, the one who was one of the sponsors in the Senate for this, who's so proud of it, she hasn't been standing up saying, I demand accountability from ARO. We gave you the money. Where's the beef?
Right. But so far, the only thing that we've been getting consistently out of ARO is a big fuck you. That's not something that would inspire any type of confidence.
It's not like what we were getting when we just had John Ratcliffe talking about the stuff coming from the UAP task force. That was run by the Navy. They played along. Ever since it went to ARO, that reports back through, I believe, the Air Force, that's the problem.
Yep. Well, the Air Force, like the CIA, that came into being around 1947, is also at the heart of the cover-up from the government since 1947. So they're also a key part of this and what's been buried. So they're part of the problem as well. And now Arrow is living proof and embodiment of the obfuscation that we're still consistently getting from these people and those agencies.
Unfortunately so.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So let's listen to the rest of this clip from Eric Burleson, and then we'll react to it. Here we go, folks.
I just want to quickly add to that, because I had the opportunity in a skiff to meet John Kozlowski and somebody else from Air Force Office of Special Investigations. And we were talking about various cases, or I was talking about various cases. And I said, I talked about Rua, I talked about Varginha in 1996. I talked about Socorro, the landing in 1964. And I said, I'm sure, and if you haven't already drawn the conclusion that, the vast majority of these sightings can and have been explained away and down to earth, for prosaic terms. However, there's a stubborn, 10-15% that, probably are going to result in, originating from a non-human intelligence. Is there any plan to tell the public? Like, how would you make that announcement once that determination was made? And I'm speaking hypothetically. And John Kozlowski looked at me and he said, James, I can't part my hair without the approval of the DOD. And at the time it was DOD. I understand it's DOW now, but at the time it was DOD. And he said, and you can quote me on that. So basically what he was telling me was, hey, my hands are tied. It doesn't matter what determination I make based on my investigations. The DOD is going to say what I can and cannot say.
Yeah, Mike, that's true. I mean, when it comes down to it, anybody who's involved with disclosure and trying to talk about the particular scenario, every single word that they're bringing out, like Lou Elizondo or David Grush, et cetera, is all cleared by the DOD. So really, we're getting censored information about what the DOD wants them to or not to talk about. So really, even though we're getting whistleblowers to come forward, et cetera, it's a controlled disclosure.
Right. And, basically what he was telling James Fox is that Joe Kozlowski, that he can't wipe his own ass without the approval of Susan Gore. So we know that, which means what do you hopefully expect to get out of that agency that he's running if he needs permission to wipe his own ass?
But remember, Mike, Susan Goff's gaze goes well beyond just that in the DOD. She handles disclosure and anything with regards to UAP, non-human intelligence, etc., for the entire federal government. So although she has her seat within that part of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, right? Her actual, her efforts encompass the entire federal government. So it's not easy to get rid of that woman because of how deeply she's embedded with everything. Catch-all UAP.
Oh, you mean the woman that's been at that job through multiple administrations on both sides of the aisle for over 16 years?
Yeah,
you're not getting rid of her. That's right. That's the problem. That's another.
Well, she's been at her post since 2010. A lot of people jump from job to job, but apparently she loves what she does and she's getting a good paycheck. So, and she's, and in her boss's eyes, she's probably doing a stellar job.
You know what? I'll play devil's advocate for a second. She actually is doing a stellar job. She's done a hell of a job with this the whole time. The whole time.
Yeah.
So why would you get rid of somebody like that? Good luck finding somebody else that would do a similar job. You couldn't.
No.
They're all bureaucrats. They would do a shitty job compared to the one that
she has the ability to scare the shit out of anybody if you look at her for too long.
Oh, she does.
Out of nowhere, Susan, people will just start tuning into Susan Goff, whether you like it or not.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No. I would not like that. Not one bit.
Oh, I know. You got to have fun with it, my friend. I'm just going through the other clips we've had going this week. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. Lots of crazy stuff going on in the UK and around the world. I'm just trying to see what else we want to get to here. Going from the latest clips. Oh.
Any updates from the Restore UK movement going on over there?
Nothing going except the gentleman who owns the non-halal Sikh restaurant in London has been arrested for some salacious tweets that he said.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No, I know. They've been watching over him for everything, and it's just a shame where the situation is at. Let me see if I can go ahead and find something here. I've got ducks knocking on the door looking for some more food.
Did you ever take a look at the clip I sent you of Senator John Kennedy that was talking about the UK? That I said we should talk about on the show? It should be in your DM.
Yeah, but I've got one clip here really quick from last night's show that was a blockbuster. Let's go ahead and get this one up here first when I run outside for a second. Here we've got RO, Tim Phillips, admitting that they stole the platform that was used by or perfected by the Tedesco brothers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's one hell of a one. So let's go ahead and bring this up right now, and I'm going to run out and get my feet wet and feed the ducks. Here we go, friends.
So if you see how crimes today are often solved with crowdsourcing, doorbells, traffic lights, that's what we want to do. We want to be able to do it at scale, and we want some immediacy. That's why now I've got John and Jerry in a podcast together. I love reading your book, and then we stole your idea. We realized that we had to have our sensors, our comms, and our prime power on a integrated platform that didn't require a commercial driver's license to close on the incident site quickly. So we read your book, we looked at the list of sensors that you had in there and how you integrated. We stole from those ideas and says, what does the government have? What is available? How can we get it on a trailer or some type of truck and be able to get there very, very quickly? Because we found that memories are perishable.
There you go, Mike. The truth comes out. But it just shows the Tedesco brothers are really on the ball with the technology that they have, and so much so that even RO, who was actually mandated to come out with a mobile platform for going and researching UAP when incidents were going on and have systems they could deploy, they went to a known platform. They've probably seen the results of what the Tedesco brothers have been able to do. More importantly, to be able to go ahead and improve it with higher end technology that's available from the DoD's catalog.
They could. I don't think they will. I believe, because we're talking about Arrow, that if they discover any information, they're going to bury it, make sure the public never hears about it.
Well,
that's what they do.
Right. They're still going to get the information. They're still going to do the research. Whether or not they release that to the public is probably not. But are they going to go ahead and put this platform together and capture the information and use it for their own analysis? They're congressionally mandated to do so.
Right. So they'll do that much because the money is there. They have the budgeting for it.
Yeah,
but
of course.
That information that they find that the Tedescos have been working on, no, we're never going to see that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Never. That was my point. But yeah, because it's Arrow. If it was any other agency besides Arrow, that would be a different story. But because it's Arrow, we're never going to see anything that they can come up with at all.
Yep.
Unfortunately. Now, we were hoping that when Kozlowski took over, because wasn't he involved with the UAP task force at one point?
Yeah, well, John Kozlowski, he's the current head of ARO.
He is, but he was involved with the task force, I believe, early on. And we thought that maybe, aside from Kirkpatrick and Tim Phillips, that if he was involved in there, it might be a different story.
But no, it's not going to be, because Kozlowski reports to the same people. He reports to the same people that Phillips did. He's the same. He reports to the same person that Kirkpatrick did. There's an agency, or there's a group of individuals who are above them that are setting their policy, setting what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, and basically letting the director know how to go ahead and handle the situation. So, personally, unless you get a radical change to the overall organizational structure that RO reports within, we're not going to see any kind of a change, Mike.
Well, I think that change might involve a presidential executive order, which would then, once it's in force Arrow to reveal what they've been hiding.
And that's why we heard from Burleson. There's a new organization that's higher up in the totem pole that's potentially heading up what's going on because they want the information to come out. They just don't want it to be covered up.
Right.
So
I get it.
In this next clip, we're talking about trying to get disclosure to going. Here we got the Tedesco brothers talking about trying to have subject matter experts for different types of technologies and different types of observations that can help in a citizen type initiative to bring disclosure and move it together faster. Here we go, folks.
What we're trying to do is, we've set up an SME network of experts that, that we can basically, communicate with, get on board with some of the issues that we may be having or other groups, and get it on a much larger platform. Getting other people involved, academia for one thing. It's been a challenge. It's definitely been a huge challenge to do that. There's some groups that don't, they don't play well with the mix of different professionals, and it's academia is basically where we have to stop. But we have a lot of professional organizations, and we have a lot of professional people that understand the technology and understand what it is that we need to look at, and what we need to focus on. But we need to establish this across the board. We have to bring in many different expertise in this, and we need to open up this line of communication and not continue to work in these silos, which unfortunately we've had over the last 20 years or so, but we are seeing a difference. We are seeing some progression with that. Groups are stepping up to the plate. They do want to work with other groups. They also want to work with the government and academia, and I know that we've reached out to various different institutions as well. And again, this is part of the reason why we created this SME network, is to get as many people involved in this as possible. It's been a challenge. I got to tell you, it's been a hell of a challenge.
The other challenge, of course, is funding. Not everybody has access to sufficient funds, and this requires quite a bit of funds. Luckily, we've had some funding from two different funders. We've been fortunate to keep us going.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. Yeah. And equipment is, it's not something that there's no expertise in this. When you're out in the field, there's a lot of nuances to understanding what it is that you're looking at, isolating prosaic stuff versus the other stuff that we put into this bucket. We found that we're always learning. We're always learning, something new.
Always learning something new, Mike. Always trying to go ahead and find the next piece of cheese to go after, and they're doing one heck of a great job at this.
Yeah, I agree. You're absolutely right about that. It's been amazing. But there's still a long way to go. We have a lot to cover and a lot of things that still need to come out of the woodwork on this topic.
It's a long ways away, my friend. We've been getting some bits and drips of information coming out from the community as time has been going on this year, but it's still quiet. We still, we've got promises from Trump, but we've got a war going on. Eventually, hopefully, we will get that presidential order to go ahead and move this forward in more of a, organized and controlled basis. Forcing these agencies that have been covering everything up, going on for 80 years, Mike, to finally do something and bring out the truth.
Well, I agree completely, Thomas. You're absolutely right. So we're going to have to wait and see what comes down the road after this conflict currently going on with Iran. But we've had a hell of a show so far and had a lot of different conversations to talk about. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. I've got one last clip here I want to go ahead and share. It's an audio clip coming from Representative Eric Burleson talking about the intelligence community and how, more importantly, the investigation bringing out the truth about UFOs has gone from the bottom of the list up to the top. Let's go ahead and play out this last clip. Here we go, folks. This is coming from
I'm going to step to the library. I will return.
All right, we'll probably be done by then, but here we go.
Okay.
Let's play it.
Bye-bye.
So there we go, moving it up in priority, something that we didn't think that the federal government would be saying, but if that's the truth, can't wait to see where the work product is going to go. On that note, what a great opportunity.
Is that executive order, and that'll do it.
That's going to be the key, the executive order, Mike, that will take this and move it all forward.
Exactly. That'll change things.
Oh, wait a minute. The audience said no audio, no bueno. What the hell? Oh, it's another one of those cases that the audio is not coming across. Okay, I found it. And I think the audience is going to get this. Let me make sure. Advanced audio properties. This is desktop audio, and it should be monitor and output. Let's try this. Here we go. Let's see if you can get this, audience.
A meeting with them where they said that.
Oh, God, no, that ain't going to work. Let's just go monitor only, mute output. Let's try this only. Here we go. What the hell? Now it's coming out. I know that. I just got to figure out what. Hold on. Oh, great. I'm sure you guys can hear it now. Yes, it's on. It's another fucking bug. Oh, let's go to advanced audio properties. Let's just go back to monitor off. Let's go ahead and play it.
From nearly the bottom of the list.
Can you guys hear this now?
Almost the very top. Because of
audience, let me know in the chat. Sounds like alien chatter. I think it should be clear now. Let's just start it from the beginning and pray.
And I'll just tell you, our intelligence community is now taking it very seriously. In fact, I just had a meeting with them where they said that they have moved this up in priority from nearly the bottom of the list of priorities to almost the very top because of recent events and sightings that have happened over, U.S. military bases. It's gotten to the point where it's at a feverish pitch. They can't ignore it anymore. And then when the president gave a green light to release these files, that also gives them the authority to move this up in priority. And I'll just tell you, our intelligence community is now taking...
So there we go. Moving it up in priority, Mike. That's the thing that everyone's been looking for. And sorry for the audience for this little faux pas. Mike, what a great show today. Great opportunity to hang out with friends.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Great conversation today, Thomas.
I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody for coming out for today's show. More importantly, if you haven't subscribed yet, what the heck you waiting for? Still 279 people watching the show. If you had a good time, give us a subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And if you haven't given us a thumbs up, we'd appreciate it, my friends. I'm going to thank some of our viewers for going ahead and throwing some super chats out there today. Who am I talking about? We had one from Daryl is here. That's the like reminder, everybody. That's your cue to hit the like button. Bogus UAP, thank you for donation, and Steve Mateo, thank you very much, with some hippos, my friends. And Mike, I want to thank everyone you in the back for being around here today.
Oh, my pleasure. I wouldn't have missed it. And thank you very much for putting all this together. It was a great job.
Oh, yeah, and thanks to Soup and Quackers for coming knocking on the door once again, like they do every year this time of year. And as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody, but...
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Oh, that's not loud enough at all. Let me do that louder. Here we go.
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. See you soon, everybody. Take care now. Bye-bye.